68-year-old female, white.
And what's your education? Like, how much education?
Oh, high
do you
school education.
have? Okay. Please tell me about your childhood, family, and school life.
I'm from a family of 12. We lived in a very poor environment until I was 16. And then when I was 16, we moved to a dairy farm where my parents began to flourish, and then we weren't as destitute. Otherwise, I grew up in a country school until third grade. From third grade to fifth grade, I went to Salem School. And then from Salem School, I went to Franklin School until I was in a sophomore in high school. And then I moved to Montrose, where I graduated from high school.
Okay. What is the most important historical event or period of time that you have lived through, and how did it influence you personally?
The Vietnam War. I actually did. I nannied for a couple that her husband was a Marine, and he actually ended up getting killed in the Vietnam War. And my husband Mike would have been drafted into the war, but his number was higher. And at the time of the Vietnam War, I have 7 brothers, and 4 of the 7 were actually in the Vietnam War. So that part of history was the one I remember the most.
Okay, this section is about physical changes. What are some physical changes that have happened to you over the last 20 years? And then I guess, why do you think some of these changes have happened?
So physical changes has happened because when I retired from the bank, I decided to clean closets and fell off of a ladder, which then twisted my knee and my back. So I needed to have back surgery, and from back surgery, I needed to have a new knee replaced.
Cognitive. What are some of the cognitive changes that you have had over the last 20 years, i.e. like memory loss, memory change?
I think my memory is still really good. Of course, as I've aged, the short-term memory isn't as good as my long-term, but I don't think I have a memory issue.
Social changes. What has changed for you socially? Who do you spend the most time with, like, or see the most? And how do you feel about these social changes in your life?
I think the thing that's changed the most was since COVID. People are just more used to staying home and being in smaller groups. And then also, as my grandchildren grow, I don't get to spend as much time with them, so my social life with them isn't as much. And as my friends' grandchildren grow, they spend more time with their families, so my friendships have stayed, but they're just, we spend time in a different way.
So who do you think you spend the most time with?
My husband.
What are new challenges for you, and what has become easier?
New challenges would be the day-to-day living things, like vacuuming and scrubbing floors and up and down stairs, those kind of things, where when I was younger, none of that stuff bothered me. But the things that have become easier is we're much more financially stable. So I don't have to work as hard because we're financially stable.
This next section is about retirement. What age did you retire and why did you decide to?
I retired at 64 so that I could spend more time doing my hobby, which is sewing.
That was one of the other questions is what do you now do that keeps you busy and why do you do it?
I do a lot of sewing and I spend a lot of time with my younger grandchildren. Basketball, football, softball, babysitting, just spending quality time.
What's the biggest change you've experienced since retirement?
Socialization with different people, meeting a lot of different people. I think that's probably the biggest, is that I haven't got to meet as many people as I did when I was working.
Reflecting on your life, how do you feel overall now in comparison to 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or 5 years ago?
I'm extremely happy with my life. My life 20 years ago, we weren't as financially set, even 10 years ago. 5 years ago, I was able to do more things than we've ever been able to do as far as travel and those kind of things. So,
if you could change anything about your life thus far, would you? And if so, what would it be?
I think the one thing that I would do different is probably go further my education. I would have liked to have worked in healthcare. So I would have liked to have gone either to LPN or RN school.
And why didn't you further your education?
Because I got married when I was 18 and I raised children, and by the time I was able to go to work, school really wasn't an option.
And what's the biggest life lesson you've learned?
Live life to the fullest. Don't take anything for granted. And spend more time on yourself. I think that's the biggest thing, is just to make sure you spend time for yourself. Because if you're not healthy, you can't help anybody else.
Right. Okay.